Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. And joining me today is two of the hottest men on YouTube. It's Joe Tomlinson, Chris Hamill. First question.
I'll take it.
First question comes from Kin9_Dirt, and it's who's your dark horses for the Champions League? And we'll get onto that in just a second. But here's a reminder, if you're new to this channel, to subscribe to this channel. We've got loads of great stuff. We've got quizzes, top tens, other Continental Clubs. You should definitely be subscribed. Shameless plug out the way. Dark horses for the Champions League. Chris Hamill, I believe you want to start.
Wild horses.
Wild.
Subo.
Exactly.
What do you make of that? Absolute anthem. Era-defining tune. Anyway, I've picked Atletico Madrid. Not less because I was quite happy to see them defeat Juventus. Perpetual underdogs, aren't they? Despite their pedigree. Ronaldo giving it that in the press conference. Maybe a little bit awkward, you know, when he got back on the coach, because I imagine zero Champions League applies to most of his fellow teammates and Max Allegri as well.
That's a good point.
So I'm not sure how they would have taken that. But alas, let's talk about Atletico and all the positives that result entails, because that was pretty much, I think, victory of the round. That 2-0 win over Juventus at the Wanda Metropolitano, thanks to goals from Jimenez and Godin. And it all happened when they had a mobile forward on the pitch, didn't it? And Alvaro Morata, who somewhat unfortunately had a goal chalked offside. If he didn't have bad luck, not offside, sorry, it was ruled out because of a little push on Chiellini, was it?
Yeah, it was.
And if he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. How many times has a centre forward just put his hands on a defender's back in order to...
Yeah, Chiellini went down like he'd been shot.
Yeah, he didn't use him as leverage.
Yeah.
Bonucci went down like he'd been shot in that game as well from the Jimenez, just before the Jimenez goal, and the ball hit him, bounced Jimenez, didn't it? In true sort of Karma style.
Yeah, he was watching the game. He was like peeking through like David Luiz at Old Trafford.
Just because he got stroked across the cheek. So, theatrics from Juventus, and they were punished duly. Like I said, could have been worse. Morata's header ruled out harshly. Costa missed that one-on-one, and Szczesny made a world-class save from Griezmann's effort. He tipped it onto the bar, didn't he? Hit the beam,
It's a great
the post.
save.
Bar? Yeah, bar. Hit the bar plumb in the centre after a fingertip save from Szczesny. Ronaldo's free kick as well. What about that bad boy?
Oh my god, he hit that. That went like a rocket, didn't it? Proper Martin Luther
The
King.
only thing I'd say about that, it was quite central.
It was very central.
But it was
Wobbler,
moving.
though.
It was a great save. It was just, you know, I'd like it in the corner. Christy.
Yeah, he's not... When's the last time he scored an absolute humding of a free kick? I'm not sure.
That's a good point.
And insult was added to injury in this game, wasn't it? Well, I should say suspension more like, because Alexandro picking up a second yellow and he won't be able to play the return leg. Of course, Sami Khedira missing this game due to an irregular heartbeat, was it?
Worrying for Sami.
Yeah, something of the sort. It's never nice to hear that sort of stuff. So, you know, a speedy recovery to Sami Khedira, a very loyal servant to Juventus and a very able player. And talking of able, Atletico Madrid able time and time again to maybe overproduce in the Champions League, which is why I picked them as my dark horses. So runners-up in 2014, then they reached the quarter-finals, then runners-up again, semi-finals after that, and last year a disappointing group stage exit after they finished third behind Roma and Chelsea, which they went on, you know, as a result to win the Europa League. So the massive silver lining in that. But there's a lot of experience in that side, and that came to the fore in this game, and I think that's what will serve them extremely well as my underdog pick. So 9 of their starting lineup have played in a UCL final, and 4 have played in 2. It's incredible pedigree, and it seems that, you know, when you serve under Diego Simeone, your not life expectancy, well, maybe that would be a good choice of words as well, but your willingness to be loyal, to stay at the club is pretty emphatic. They've got a lot of players that have been there for 4, 5, 6 years plus, haven't they? This band of warriors that just want to serve Diego Simeone. And I don't think there's any other team in Europe right now whose players would put it all on the line as much as these Atletico players for their manager.
Yeah,
I think Pochettino's built a bit of a cult at Tottenham.
Yeah.
But in terms of manager-player relationships, very, very strong. And they've also never lost a home game in Europe, in the knockout stages under Simeone. And since the start of 13-14, we mentioned this in UCL review as well, didn't we? Atletico have kept 12 clean sheets in the UCL knockout stages. Incredible. Only Real Madrid have managed more. History also says they'll go through against Juventus because You know, very rarely at this stage in the competition does a team overturn 2-0 deficit. I think the last exception was Werder Bremen in 2005-06, so somewhat of an anomaly that side. But where they might fall down, gentlemen, is their lack of firepower. Only Griezmann has more than 2 goals in the competition at this stage. And there's only 3 players, I think Angel Correa, Saul and Griezmann, who are averaging over 2 shots per 90 in the competition. So, have you got another suggestion, Joe? Well, you have got another suggestion, or it'd be pretty cool if it should be in there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a suggestion, but I think, in my opinion anyway, there is no dark horse for the Champions League that's going to win it. I think it is just going to be a big team. It's a complete shock. It has to be like a Leicester story for one of these sides to win the Champions League, in my opinion. Genuinely, for a Tottenham Hotspur to win the Champions League, it would be up at that, nearly at that level, because they're spending
win of 2012,
nothing compared to the rest of these top teams. And I think it's fairly obviously going to be sort of a Man City, PSG, Juve, Bayern, Real, Barca in that last area. So I'd be very surprised, but I will put the case forward for a team like Tottenham, because I actually think their result was the result of the round. I think beating Borussia Dortmund 3-0 in their own backyard without Harry Kane could be argued as one of the best results of the Champions League so far this season. Yeah, exactly, without Dele Alli as well. Of course, they have got one of the informed forwards in world football, if not the most informed forward in world football, in Heung-min Son, firing on all cylinders at the moment, and his record against Dortmund, I believe, is better than any other club, which is pretty impressive. But the reason I think Tottenham stand a decent chance is that I think they've got the second best manager in world football right now at the helm. I think Pep is the outstanding candidate, but then I think Pochettino, with the resources he's currently got at his disposal, is the second best manager in world football. To be able to spend nothing in 2 windows and still be competing at this level, to be able to introduce Heung-min Son into a striking role when Harry Kane is out injured for 4 weeks and not see any drop off, just shows how brilliant his man management skill is, for one, and how brilliant his tactics are. To be able to move Jan Vertonghen to a more advanced left wing back role in the second half against Borussia Dortmund, destroyed them. He destroyed Borussia Dortmund with 2 tweaks. Dropping Eriksen slightly deeper, moving Super Jan further up the pitch. Dortmund had no answer at all because Jadon Sancho had to drop deeper to try and cover.
And he was really good in the first half, wasn't he? He was running amok.
Absolute genius by Mauricio Pochettino, and there's no manager in world football that is currently spending £0 trying to pay off £1 billion stadium and still pushing for a title and about to go into the quarterfinals of the Champions League. For me, he's the second best manager in world football, and Tottenham do stand a chance of beating anyone on the day because of his tactical nous.
Fair. I mean, that's a very, very compelling case. And I've got a case that's probably not so convincing, but I've been impressed with them in this year's competition so far, and that's got to be Lyon for me. I don't think they'll go through against Barcelona, but I think they've had a great campaign so far and they can hold their heads up high. Barcelona had 25 shots in their 0-0 draw. I mean, it wasn't a classic by any stretch of the imagination, but Anthony Lopez, their keeper, made some good saves from Messi, Suarez, and I think it was Coutinho as well. Barcelona in a bit of a sticky patch, actually. They've drawn 4 of their last 5 games. Suarez, in all competitions, that is. Suarez still yet to score a goal in this year's Champions League. They haven't really performed all that well. And obviously they drew against Spurs at the Nou Camp in the group stages as well. They are unlikely to win at the Nou Camp, though, Lyon. Barcelona, they failed to beat Barcelona in any of their 7 matches, and Barcelona's home record in knockout stages is incredible. Of their last 34 games, Barcelona have won 29 of them, drawn 5, with their last defeat a 3-0 home loss to Bayern in the semi-finals in May 2013. So that is a massive wave of history going against Lyon. But they do have some, interesting danger men. Fekir's obviously played very well. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists already in the competition. Depay, 1 goal, 4 assists. Fekir's averaging 5 shots per 90 in the Champions League. Even Moussa Dembele, ex-Celtic man, 3.9 shots per 90. Depay, 3.8 key passes per 90. Fekir, 2.6. They have plenty of danger men.
I don't think they've got the striker to do anything, to do damage in this
You might well be right.
As good as Moussa was at Celtic, which I think he clearly was, not that calibre. And is it Bertrand Traoré?
Bertrand Traoré, yeah. I think he's still learning his trade.
Dembele's still bedding into the side, isn't he? He's not really starting week in, week out domestically, and they've lost Mariano Diaz, who's a big player.
Yeah, definitely. But Bertrand Traoré looks pretty useful when he's played. Max Cornet as well, when he's played, I think he had a cracking game. I think it was City in the group stages. He played very well. They've obviously got a world-class midfield. They're probably not there in terms of knocking out Barcelona just yet, but they're definitely a team to watch for the future and the one that I've been really impressed with.
If they can keep their star players. So I think they're going to get pillaged this summer. I think Memphis is going to probably... They'll struggle to keep Memphis anyway, especially with Man United having a buyback option. I think they're probably going to struggle to keep Aouar. I think they'll probably struggle to keep Tanguy and Ndombele. And if they get picked apart, it's not easy just to keep rotating, as you've seen with Monaco.
100%. I was just about to say, it feels like Monaco after they won that league title in 2017. I think that side is potentially, Bruno Genesio might have a bit of a task on his hand keeping it all together, but it'll be a real shame. So out of those three teams, I think I'm going to actually go with Chris's for the dark horses.
Yeah, Atletico are going to be the deepest, I think.
Yeah, out of those teams. But yeah, who do you guys think are the dark horses for the Champions League? And will we see a shock winner? We're hoping so. We'll move on to question 2. Right, time for the second question, and it comes in from @Laura34531. Thank you very much for your question, Laura.
Our 1% female audience is Laura. So
big up the woo from Liv as well. Which team from Europe's top 5 leagues has surprised you the most? Says Laura. And Joe, you've got a bit of a positive story from France.
Yeah, I think Lille's definitely stand a chance in this list. Obviously, people are expecting Lyon to challenge PSG. PSG are out and out, miles ahead of everybody else in the pack. But for Lille to be second at this stage of the season, I think nobody saw coming. They've had a really topsy-turvy past few years, haven't they? They obviously had 14th, 15th place finish, I believe, in 16-17 under Antonetti. Then they had the whole fiasco with Marcelo Bielsa where he came in and he told the players he was going to leave before pre-season even started. I think he lasted like 13 games or something like that, was suspended. Yeah. Then he was seeking a €20 million payout, wasn't he, from his contract. Don't even know whether they ever ended up paying that, but it was really going wrong for Lille, and it was sort of in free-fall mode.
The war.
But now they've sprung back, haven't they? Second in the league, like I mentioned earlier. Probably, I don't want to say the second best team in France, because I think Lyon probably should be doing better than they currently are, given that some of the performance I've seen them put in the Champions League, especially this season. But with their limited budget, Lille are doing really well. There's players like Loic Remy back there now. If you watch the Premier League, you'll probably remember him from his infamous Newcastle days where he was fairly hit and miss. And of course, they've got the star man, Nicolas Pepe, that absolutely everybody in world football is after at the moment. He's obviously a young forward. His numbers are ridiculous. I think he's got 16 goals and 8 assists so far in the league alone. Taking over 3 shots per 90, nearly 2 key passes per 90, nearly 3 dribbles per 90. One of the outstanding young talents in world football out of forwards.
You get hot under the collar, do you?
I love Pepe. Yeah.
And there are certainly some teams that need some wide forwards and some players that can drift anywhere across the front line, aren't they? Real Madrid spring to mind if they do look to move on Gareth Bale this summer. Bayern Munich obviously spring to mind with Ribery and Robben aging out. Chelsea, although the Pulisic deal, and also news has just broken this morning that Chelsea are going to be banned for 2 windows.
Yeah, I haven't been following this, Joe. What's that all about?
So basically, Chelsea are going to receive a 2-window ban from FIFA. They were investigated for signing over 100 players illegally, under 18 players from foreign sides, basically tapping them up. Yeah. So you obviously saw Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid face the same punishment when they did the same thing. I believe Real's was actually reduced to a year, but I don't think Chelsea quite have the influence that Florentino Perez does at FIFA. So they'll probably get a 2-window ban, but appeal it, meaning that it'll be pushed back 6 months and allowing them to sign players this summer. Either way, absolutely disastrous, given that Maurizio Sarri needs to turn over probably 6 men in his squad, and they're likely to lose Eden Hazard. Obviously, one of the reasons that they brought in Christian Pulisic so early, because they knew this was probably going to come in, so they thought, let's get that business done just in case it does hit. We've already got him over the line.
So Abramovich's wallet is literally going to be on fire.
Abramovich's wallet will need to be on fire, whether or not he's willing to dip his hand in his pocket and sign players like Nicolas Pepe when there's
can't even dip
50,
his toe
60,
into the
70
country.
million euro bids going in from elsewhere remains to be seen. But either way, I thought it'd be good to mention Lille because they don't get many shout-outs. Not a massive team, not competing in Europe like a Lyon, but doing well domestically under a shadow.
Yeah. Nice, definitely worth a shout-out. And Chris, you are bringing us on the other end of the scale, a team that are doing disastrously.
Yeah, I mean, Lille have kept an element of intrigue at the top of Ligue 1, haven't they? And I was pretty intrigued as to why Villarreal in La Liga are doing so bad, conversely. I mean, they're 18th at the moment with 14 games to go after spending €92.9 million Now, it's pretty grim reading, gentlemen. They've only won 4 games all season. So they fired Javier Calleja, the manager who started the season, in charge after they only won 3 of their opening 15 games, which, you know, is pretty justified.
Fulham vibes, this isn't it?
Drawing 5 in the process as well, losing 7. They had an interim in charge from December the 10th to the 30th before Calleja was reinstated on the 30th of January. So since then, they've had 2 draws and a 3-0 win over Sevilla. So yeah, the club backtracking on their decision to sack him ultimately. But they're still in the Europa League, aren't they? After riding out a bit of a scare last night, Bruno Fernandes putting Sporting 1-0 up away from home. But they equalise, gentlemen, and they go through 2-1 on aggregate, I believe. And they'll be happy that they scored that goal, because goals have been hard to come by for them this season. I think Carlos Bacca and Moreno, their top goal scorers on 4 goals. Oh. And only Santi Cazorla, the little 34-year-old magician, still at it, has more than 3 assists. I think he's on 5 for the season. So really struggling in the attacking third of the pitch. And I suggest if they stay in the league, maybe going for someone like Vallecano's Raul de Tomas, who I brought into a podcast earlier in the season. I don't know if his numbers have plateaued a little bit, but overperforming down there, and a good season in the Segunda the year before. So they'll be shopping in that area, I would assume, if they narrowly avoid relegation. Any other suggestions, gentlemen?
Yes, I've got one from Germany. Continuing our sort of tour of the European countries, I'm going to give a shout out to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Because I think they're a side that sort of don't get the credit they deserve at times. I mean, they obviously finished in the top 4 twice under Lucien Favre in 2011-12 and 2014-15. They then had a sort of bit of a drop-off. They 2 consecutive 9th place finishes under Dieter Hecking in 16-17 and last year. But this year, they've slightly gone under our radar. They're 3rd. They're 2 points clear of RB Leipzig and only 5 behind Bayern Munich, with 12 games to go. And they were actually 2nd from the 4th of November to the 18th of December before Bayern went on their ridiculously strong Bundesliga run. I'd like to applaud their business in the summer. I think they got rid of Yannick Vestergaard. Not so much got rid of him, but sold him really well. I think he went for upwards of £25 million to Southampton. He hasn't really shone since he's been there. I think he's made 17 starts, but I don't think he's looked as assured as he has.
That's an understatement. The guy looks like he's playing on an ice rink.
He's just very tall and pretty ungainly, and I don't think he's great on the ball either.
It's like an extra from Vikings, isn't it?
Yeah, but Southampton have normally been quite good at spotting centre-back talent over the last 5-6 years, so you'd hope that maybe he'll develop in time. Van Dijk. Yoshida was a good player as well, but they cleverly reinvested.
I think other than Van Dijk, their centre-back recruitment has been horrendous.
I think Jose Font.
Lovren?
Lovren's a good shout.
Jose Font and Van Dijk were a great pairing.
Yeah, I mean, Jose Font was there with them in League One, so like he did rise with them. I mean, looking at like Wesley Hurt, not been particularly great. Vestergaard, not been particularly great. Rashida's been okay.
Oh, what's the name of the current guy?
From the academy.
That's just come through. Bednarak.
Bednarak looks pretty decent.
So I'll take that, your criticism.
Yeah, I mean, it's been
hit and miss.
largely
Okay,
hit and miss.
Hit and miss. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, they cleverly reinvested that 25 million and put 20 of it in Alisson Play, who's been awesome. He scored 10 and assisted 3 in 22 league games. He obviously joined from Nice, where he was great over a couple of years with Balotelli up front. His numbers have looked great this year as well. He's averaging 3.1 shots, 1.2 key passes, 0.6 goals per 90 against an XG of 0.4. So he's actually over-exceeding his expected goals, which is what you want from a striker. And we've got to give a shout out to the less talked about Hazard brother as well. Thorgan has been class. 9 goals, 7 assists. I'd expect a move for him this summer. He's finally sort of stepped out of Eden's
Do you think,
shadow.
what about him to Bayern? Thorgan Hazard. Lots of talk about Thorgan Hazard going to Borussia Dortmund as a Jadon Sancho replacement over the last few weeks. I think he'd be a wicked signing for Bayern Munich.
I think he can play well on the wing, but I think he's naturally his best position is as a 10. So maybe if James Rodriguez leaves and goes back to Real Madrid...
I didn't realise that. I thought he was a
I think he can play either.
James Rodriguez also saying this week that we'll see, basically. He said, I have a home in Madrid, I have people that love me in Madrid, so let's see what happens until the end of the season. If Kovac doesn't play me, then I will not be as keen on a move as I was maybe playing under Heinkes.
Yeah, and we were also talking about this on Sunday Vibes, that maybe Christian Eriksen might leave Spurs. Someone like Thorgan Hazard coming into that Spurs side, I think, would be a great addition as well. Also need to give a shout out to 21-year-old central midfielder Florian Neuhaus. Sorry, my German pronunciation is awful. That's probably butchered entirely. But he was brought back from his loan spell. He was at loan at Fortuna Düsseldorf last year, and he was one of the key reasons behind them getting promoted. He's played in every one of their 22 league games. He's got 2 goals and 7 assists from central midfielder, and he plays a slightly deep-lying playmaker as well. So he looks like one for the future. So yeah, those are 3 sides that we have been surprised by, either from being good, slightly going under the radar, or just a bit of a disaster. On to our big match preview. Right, so now it's time for our big match preview. Everyone's favourite section, maybe. I actually think it's my favourite section. I don't think it's anyone else's. But our big match preview this weekend is Borussia Dortmund versus Bayer Leverkusen, which is taking place at Sunday, 5 p.m. And it's a big game for Borussia Dortmund, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge game for Borussia Dortmund. They have had a horrendous February, haven't they? I think they've drawn 3 consecutively in the league. They've gone out of the cup, and they got battered, didn't they, at Wembley by Tottenham Hotspur. And it's just been sloppiness that's cost them, really. 3-0 up, they were, of course, against Hoffenheim with, 12 minutes to go, something like that? Yep. 15 minutes to go? And threw that away, conceding 3 in quick succession. And they've conceded 10, which is not good enough in this month. Nowhere near good enough. Scored 7, conceded 10. And let's not forget they were 9 points clear going into this run. They're now only 3 points clear of Bayern Munich, who have themselves put together a really nice run.
They're coming.
They are coming, which would be slightly concerning because we said it a while ago, didn't we? That inexperience in the Dortmund squad might well come back to bite them, particularly at the back. We're very, very young central defensive team, and it looks like it might be showing.
Yeah, that unshakable confidence that we saw at the beginning of the season looks like it's dipped.
Yeah,
just at the wrong time.
And the reliance on Marco Reus is huge. It is absolutely massive. You see Jadon Sancho talking in the press about how Marco Reus is one of his idols, one of the best players he's ever seen. Marco Reus has been unbelievable this season, 13 goals, 6 assists in 19 games, but that reliance on a man who has always struggled to put together a consistent 50-game season is going to come back to buy him, isn't it?
I think he's already clocked up more minutes in this campaign than sort of 3 of his previous 4.
But one injury to him, and it's all over for Borussia Dortmund, in my opinion anyway. I think if Marco Reus picks up an injury, it's going to be an absolute disaster. And in contrast to Dortmund's shocking form, Leverkusen are flying, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah, they're in scintillating form of late, Leverkusen, Joseph, but they did start the season very slowly. Only won 7 in their first 17 matches, drawing 3, losing 7, which I suppose is okay if you're a middling side, but if you're competing for a Champions League spot on the bully, simply not good enough. And you're a team like Leverkusen, who are expected to be there and thereabouts, because Dortmund, Bayern Munich, 2 of them already gone, aren't they? It doesn't leave much room to manoeuvre. So as a result, they fired Heiko Herrlich on the 23rd of December at the start of the winter break, giving the new manager a little bit of breathing space to come in and get familiar with the club. And it was a man who was familiar with the league in Peter Bosch.
God.
He took over, the man who led Dortmund to a record start in the Bundesliga, and then I've never seen a fall off like it. But the less said about that, the better, really.
To interrupt you for 1 second on Peter Bosch, did you see his last pass map for the Leverkusen side? Jonathan Tah, I believe it was, completed 200 passes.
Yeah. Really? Likes to build from the back.
His 2 centre-backs completed like 1190 and 180 passes. It's just this. Yeah. It's just literally 90 minutes of this. Shite.
What, U-shaped football. Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of meaningless possession, but it's working for Leverkusen at the moment. So they've only lost 1 of their last 5 games. So having been 11th on the 16th of December, they're now 5th, just 5 points off 4th place Leipzig. So it's getting very competitive in that sort of echelon of the Bundesliga, isn't it? They're also, well, not also, past tense, they topped their Europa League group as well. So they drew the first leg 0-0 against Krasnodar, who are ranked about 50th in Europe. So not great away from home. I'm not sure how the return leg went last night. Let's find out. I'll carry on while you find out. So the key men in this campaign has been Kai Havertz. They went out. They went out, so I mean that takes the edge off what I'm saying somewhat, but we're going to soldier through it. So Krasnodar taking a scalp there, but until then, key men in the competition had been Kai Havertz. He's pretty much one of the key men in all competitions, the languid playmaker. The 19-year-old has made a huge impression across Europe. The top sides all scouting him. He looks like an unbelievable talent. So 9 goals and 2 assists. at such a young age. It's really impressive stuff. He's essentially, however highly we think of Jadon Sancho, I think that's how highly they think of Kai Havertz in Germany, in terms of the national setup, that is. So this is a really good, represents really good progression from 17-18 when he scored 3 and assisted 8 in the league, and he's been heavily linked with Arsenal, who, I'm sure Mesut Ozil, he's actually gone on record to say is an idol of his. And the way they're currently treating Mesut Ozil probably doesn't bode well.
One in, one out.
Ozil out, fuck I have
Shall I try and go to a club where my idol, who I've based my game upon in my formative years, is not getting a sniff? Probably not.
That's where Arsenal are at, though. Kai Havertz would not be a bad... I don't think they're going to get top talent.
They've got
Ozil will leave.
I don't think if I'm a number 10, I go to Arsenal under Unai Emery. I really don't.
It's a point well made.
But his numbers this season, incrementally getting better, as you'd assume. 2.4 shots, 1 key pass, 1.4 dribbles, 0.4 expected goals and assists per 90. Really, really promising numbers for a 19-year-old at number 10. And Kevin Volland, good old Kevin Volland, he's still pumping out the goals. 8 goals and 5 assists, backing up a solid 17-18 campaign, which saw him get 14 goals and 2 assists. And I've watched some of the highlights of late. I watched Julian Brandt absolutely destroy, might have been Paderborn or someone the other week. But he is looking like he's back to his best, just driving Leverkusen up the pitch. So there's Julian Brandt, there's Leon Bailey in that side, Vendel, Jonathan Tah, Lars Bender as well. So there's talent right through that side. And I think, they should be looking to finish 4th or 5th.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
They're just about par for the course at the moment. It's going to be incredibly difficult, I do.
Yeah, it'll be really difficult. They don't have a good record in this game at all. I think Bayer Leverkusen have only won 1 of their last 6 meetings, and that was a 2-0 victory in October 2016. They actually haven't won at the Westfalenstadion since August 2014. Ooh. But BVB, as we said, not in good form. They're only averaging 2 goals a game and have only won 1 of their last 6 games in all competitions. Bayer, in contrast, are averaging 2.3 goals per game, and over the last 6 matches have won 4 of them. So, pretty promising scenes, but this is disaster for Dortmund if they don't manage to get 3 points in this, considering their recent form. So yeah, it's going to be absolutely intriguing. Try and tune in at Sunday 5 PM. I don't know what channel it's on, but it'd be well worth a watch.
On your Aranda, did we put money at the start of the season on our various guests?
We put a lot of respect.
Just respect.
Yeah, it was just respect.
Just get a cheeky £5. I still think Bayern are going to win. Take your 3-point advantage.
Dortmund
still.
£5.
There it is.
£5.
Wow, big money.
And we're not going to do quick fire questions, guys, today, because we have given you a hell of a lot of information. We need these two back on form for Monday, so they're going to have a little break over the weekend.
I'm on Football Social on today, so
true.
Come and join me for 2 games.
2 games, yes?
Yes, Liv, 2 games. I can't wait though.
You've got Man United, Liverpool, and obviously the EFL Cup final as well. So that is a Football Social not to miss out.
So briefly on Chelsea, saw a tweet this morning that Sarri at this stage in the season has won 1 more game than Pep Guardiola had after 20. I don't know how many competitive games
27
it is.
Isn't it?
No, I think he's won 27. Pep won 26 after the same amount of games at this point in the season. If he wins the Cup final, if they continue to make solid progress in the Europa League, obviously dispatched of Malmo with a second-string side last night, if a little bit of feel-good factor returns, obviously the transfer ban doesn't help. How long do we think he's got?
If he loses on Sunday, I think that'll be it.
Oh!
I don't think this game matters to his future, because I don't think they'd expect to win.
2 very contrasting views.
I think it's more important the next 2-3 league games.
I think
if they keep falling apart in the league, then it'll probably go.
What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. But
good point. Joe, is there anything? Yeah, Joe, anything you'd like to push to?
Yeah, come and watch We Need to Talk. That's just dropped on Football Daily. So head over there and watch.
Some more stuff about the transfer ban.
Yeah, there is lots of stuff about Chelsea. It's not just the transfer ban that's gone wrong there. Antonio Conte's suing him. Roman Abramovich is ready to sell. Eden Hazard said he's leaving. Maurizio Sarri is having a nightmare on the training ground because he's lost the dressing room. It's not a particularly good sign.
It's absolute chaos in West London. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.